welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
We're back! A dinosaur story!
No.
Wait, that's not it, right? We're not doing that?
Well, are we talking about the book or the movie?
I don't know. There's a book?
We're talking about the book. The book was great.
Okay. Is that what it's called? We're Back, a Dinosaur Story?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The book is charming and whimsical. The movie...
I guess. What do you got against Steven Spielberg? Granted, he just produced
Nothing specific.
He just produced it. He didn't actually do anything on it, really. So you don't have to think about him too much. And actually, he didn't even produce it. It was just his Amblin Entertainment division that did it. It wasn't even him. Whatever, fine. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie I might have seen it when it came out on video, but I never saw it other than that. So, yeah, I have no idea what the movie's like.
Not good.
Okay.
Not bad, but not. It misses the point. Let's put it that way.
Well, okay. Good to know, I guess. Sorry to all of you We're Back, a Dinosaur Story fans out there. The fandom. We've just alienated the entire fandom. Look what you've done, Ian.
I seem to be on that kind of a streak lately.
Good. Chun-Li should have been in Smash. It's true.
Yes.
It's true. You're not wrong.
I don't think anybody argues that fact. It's just an argument of whether or not Ken was a valid inclusion. But we're not here to talk about Smash Brothers again. We've done many episodes on that.
Yes,
we're here to answer your questions.
Yes.
You can get those questions answered by emailing us at bumblecast@yahoo.com, tweeting to us at BumbleKast. If you are a patron, post anywhere on the Patreon page in the comments or whatever, or in the Ask Q&A channel over on the Discord. You can comment on any of the YouTube videos. We'll find it there as well. If you are a $5 or greater patron, you get bumped to the head of the line to priority Q&A, or you can send us $6 via Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and also get bumped up to the priority status. If we've answered your question in one of the more recent episodes, if it's covered on one of the FAQs over at bumbleking.com, or if it's into the nitty-gritty of what was planned for the old Archie Sonic series, we're going to pass over it because of reasons we have described for the past, year. We've done this a lot. Just roll with us, guys. Roll with us.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's jump on into the priority Q&A, starting off with AwesomeCakester. Ian, do you write Tangle, Whisper, Starline, Jewel, Mimic, or Rough and Tumble with a specific voice in mind? Any actors in particular you'd like to see voice them if they were to have their own appearance in other Sonic media? Now, I want to say, this is Kyle speaking, I want to say that we have talked about, I think, at least Tangle and Whisper before, but these other ones we have not. So
yeah, I was going to say, we've kind of touched on the idea of voice actors in the past, and I don't have really a lot of specifics in mind. I have a kind of cadence and nebulous voice in my head when I'm writing them, but I don't have an actual super distinctive voice. If they actually got voiced, I wouldn't be going, oh, that sounds wrong, necessarily. I keep toying with the idea of taking some of the preview pages that they've been putting out for Bad Guys and doing a kind of rough radio drama with kind of a pass of how I hear it, but that takes time and effort, and I have 2 very large scripting duties on my plate right now, so I should probably focus on doing, work.
Whatever. Doing work. Jeez. I don't know. I don't have any ideas. We went through Tangle and Whisper already. Next up, Scruffymatt has a question. It says, greetings, Ian and Kyle, you mysterious seekers of truth and answerers of questions. I imagine that, like myself, many video game fans are frustrated that the only crossovers we're getting between Sonic and Mario are the Olympic Games compilations, when what we really want is a platformer with Sonic and Mario teaming up against Eggman and Bowser. The two of you have talked about this idea on the show before, and why it might or might not work. But what if SEGA and Nintendo decided to try going in a different direction? There's the Mario Kart series, and there's a Sonic Racing series. Mash them together, and what do you get? No, seriously, tell me, what do you get? Go nuts, fellas. What do you think a racing game combining Mario and Sonic would be like?
It depends on which racing Sonic you go with. You've got your Sonic R model, which can kind of be applied to the rival series. You've got your Riders model, which is the airboards and other weird sci-fi vehicles. And then you've got your sumo racers, which are more traditional kart racers. They're not in karts necessarily, but I guess Mario Kart really isn't in karts anymore either.
Barely.
So, I mean, I guess in that regard, you would have to... A mashup between the sumo style and the Mario Kart style would make the most sense. But I'm also never fully satisfied with Sonic racing games, specifically Sonic racing games, where they're not on foot. I feel like putting them in cars, it makes sense in terms of a development standpoint, but I feel like it kind of loses the magic of what makes Sonic special, and that's everybody is super freaking fast. So,
are they super freaking fast, though? Like, all of them?
I mean, we're going to kind of touch on this on a later question, but
sure,
it's hard to compare since there's inconsistencies across all the games.
Right.
I mean, Amy in Sonic Adventure is kind of slow and plodding and more of an acrobat, but in Sonic Heroes, she's arguably just as fast as any other speed-type characters. In some incarnations, she can't do any kind of damage with her regular jump. You have to put a separate input for the hammer. In others, she has a homing attack. Yeah, the hammer's involved, but it's still the same mechanics. So, if you look at traditional Sonic gameplay, Tails and Knuckles are, pretty much just as fast as Sonic is. And I don't know. There's a whole big debate to be had, and frankly, I find it tiresome after being in the fandom for so long.
I mean, yeah.
Rule of cool should win out in the end. But I guess if you mash up Mario Kart as we saw it in like 8 with what we saw in Team Sonic Racing, kind of mix up some of the Mario items with some of the Wisp powers, that would work well enough.
Sure, I suppose. I'd want to go back to Super Mario Kart and Sonic Drift. Combine those. I need some sprite scaler action, This is Sega we're talking about, the kings of sprite scalers. So we need it. I need it. Do it. Somebody do it. I guess there's what's it called? Sonic Robo Blast 2 kart. I throw Mario in there. Why not? Might as well. Starline's fanboy has a question. Hi, Ian. Imagine that Dr. Starline existed in the same universe in which Dr. Eggman had the Egg Bosses, and he still worked for the Doctor. How would his relationship be with the Egg Bosses? Would he be their superior? And would he have a rivalry with Thunderbolt because of her crush for Eggman? Or an alliance?
Kind of depends on the context of Starline's involvement. Being a platypus, he probably would have been the Trolleus representative, so Ma would have been phased out. But that's not as much fun. Let's pretend that all the Egg Bosses remain as they were, and Starline has got the personal attendant role. He's not an Egg Boss per se. He's just Major Domo to Eggman. I can imagine him being just impossibly smug and domineering to the other Egg Bosses because he is a believer. Or, for fun's sake, we're going, early Metal Virus Saga when he's working with Eggman. That kind of devout. And still being a little frustrated with Eggman fumbling the macro management, let's say, of things. So Starline's kind of stuck in this position of wrangling the Egg Bosses to be kept in line, but also kind of smoothing things over when the boss doesn't do something smart. But it's still, you got to still look up to the boss. You can't listen to the naysayers, the hecklers in the background. And I don't know, that could be a fun dynamic. As for Thunderbolt, they would absolutely be rivals for Eggman's attention and affection. They would hate each other. And their only common ground would be their admiration for Eggman.
Yeah. I like it. Let's do it. Oh, wait, we can't. Now I'm sad. Blue Title Gamer's up next with a question. What Spider-Man stories across all forms of Spider-Man media, be it comics, movies, games, etc., have stuck with you the most?
Not a ton, because I was never really super into Spider-Man. I know I watched the old Fox Kids cartoon religiously, and I retained like none of it.
Same. Yep. I can't remember anything about it except Madam Web was in there, who I thought was integral to the Spider-Man mythos, but it is not, apparently, because she never shows up anywhere else.
One of the standout comics for me, though, was, I don't remember the particular title or number. It was just one of those holographic foil covers that was billed as the final showdown between Venom and Spider-Man, which, no.
Well, it was the final at the time.
Yeah. And I remember being really confused because, like, Peter's parents were alive and they were kidnapped by Venom, and there was some group of people with sonic cannons hunting down Venom and blah, 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 blah. But there was just this one moment in particular where they're in some, like, rundown carnival, I think, and it's blowing snow, and Peter's in this ragged uniform, and he's on edge because Venom can sneak around under his spider sense. And he gets like this last second, oops! And he turns around, and it's this shot of Peter in the foreground looking all beat up and ragged, turning just in time to see Brock just looming over him. And the symbiote has taken on the form of this absolutely badass like leather biker outfit, but with the Venom logo across it. And Brock's just kind of looking down at him, and he goes, "You usually run from us." And it's like, oh, it's so cool. That is so cool. And then like the whole outfit morphs into Venom, and like the face starts to just form over his head. And for me, that's quintessential Venom. I know that it has been a very long and twisty road for the character since then, but that the old fashioned "we are Venom, lethal protector," super 90s era is my jam. And I don't know, that story in particular, I remember reading over and over and over and over and over again. I think I might still have it boxed somewhere, really.
Nice.
And absolutely have to mention the Into the Spider-Verse movie.
Yep, definitely.
Which is the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. I mean, no argument here. And,
I mean, you could nitpick. We watched it recently just because I wanted to have that endorphin rush.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like bits, especially in the third act, where I can go, it could have been handled maybe a tiny bit better. But then the other part of me is going, shut up, man. This thing is a work of art in the truest sense of the word. Just sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that for just about anything. You can say, well, they could have done things slightly differently here and here and here. But, as the overall total package, yeah, no doubt in my mind that Spider-Verse is fan-freaking-tastic. I also loved Spectacular Spider-Man, the cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
From, like, I think it started in, like, the late 2000s or something. It only went for 2 seasons, and then they canceled it in favor of Ultimate Spider-Man, I guess, which was a paltry successor. and just nowhere near as good as Spectacular Spider-Man. It was fantastic, and it got cut short way too early. So, yeah, that's like the Spider-Man that I look at, and I'm like, oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, oddly enough, for me, it's like animated Spider-Man mainly. It's like Spectacular Spider-Man and then Spider-Verse. I think those are the best.
Tangentially related, there was a mini-series that remains one of the low bars for me. It was a mini-series that was supposed to be a follow-up on the Maximum Carnage event.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be a rematch between Venom and Carnage. And there's one really good cover in particular where Carnage is like ripping the symbiote's head off of Brock and kind of pulling them apart. And it's like, ooh, visceral. But like the whole thing revolves around somebody getting Cassidy's biography on the entire event and using it as the basis of like a super violent MMO. And this somehow involves the deal of Cassidy getting internet access, and now symbiotes can access the internet through computers.
Well, I mean, everyone can do that.
It ends because Venom fights Carnage in digital space on the internet, but in a computer, and so he hits the heat sink and the heat flash beats him. And it was like, I spent money on this. Why did I spend money on this?
I'm sorry. That's not how
Actually, to be fair, a lot of the Venom stuff that I bought over the years kind of had that end result. So, oh well.
That's not how heat sinks work, but, it's the Marvel Universe.
There's a lot of that's not how it works in that story arc.
People don't work like they do in the Marvel Universe, to be fair. So, it's whatever. Oh, well. Next up, we got a question from Digama F. Wow. What's the story behind Fragile, the backup story for issue 232? At that point in your run, you were pretty much the sole writer outside of some leftover inventory stories, which had been long since exhausted, and Yardley writing some X issues and Babylon Rising. But then lo and behold, there's a backup story important to Bunny and Antoine's arc by a pair of guys who haven't worked on the book beforehand or since. Come to think of it, there's also a Buntuan story written by a different pair of writers who were never otherwise involved in the book early in the reboot, though non-U writers were a bit more common by then.
It's been a while, but I think it was mostly just to test out other writers and build the stable so that it wasn't just me. As one of my editors put it, if I got hit by a bus, they would have been screwed because there was no backup. Mm-hmm. There was no other regular writers. So I think it was going to be, that was just to test them out and see how they were received and how well they worked with the material and such. I didn't really have any interaction with it, so I can't really speak to it beyond that.
Well, next question is from Off. Is Classic and Modern Sonic distinguished as separate timelines or entirely alternate realities? If Classic Sonic is just Sonic from the past, could any time-traveling character, like, say, Silver, go back in time and exist in classic media, quote-unquote? Is Modern Sonic a result of one of the possible endings of Sonic CD and the Time Stone shenanigans? I know you're the comic guy, and what you have to say doesn't have any bearing on game canon, so an answer you give will be purely speculative and hypothetical, but I, for one, still appreciate your take on these topics.
Thank you with that proviso in there. This is speculation on my part. Do not take it as word of God or company insight. The way I think it is, or at least how it's been presented, is that Classic is an alternate past at this point. That there was some continuity between the two at some point, but it has since diverged so that Classic is its own thing and Modern is its own thing. In that regard, I guess if Silver were to go far enough in the past, there would be a common point, but that starts, you have to define what the actual timeline is at that point, and defining a Sonic timeline is a fool's errand. So, technically, yes, I guess is the answer. But at this point, I don't really feel confident saying one way or the other, even speculatively, because who knows where they're going to take things from here.
Yeah. And then you have Silver's future being treated as like an alternate reality sometimes instead of the main future. Yeah. It's weird things like that. So, yeah. Who knows? And then you have an actual alternate dimension in the form of the Soul universe with Blaze. So it's like, what?
Chaotic Inferno was supposed to be another one. The books might count as the other ones. And
Nothing makes sense. Just embrace it all. Whatever. And our final priority question this week comes to us courtesy of Andrew D. What was Sally's royal birthmark supposed to look like, and where was it located? I can't help but think it might be a star-shaped birthmark, like the Joestar lineage.
It would have been the same shape as Elias's, and I believe it was kind of a star shape. Yeah. So just a simple black star and a swarm, which didn't seem to be present on any other member of the Acorn royal family. But hey, when you need a contrivance to get the plot moving, you don't really think it through, do you? As for where it is, that remains a mystery, known only to her and Espio.
Oh, how does Espio know?
Because he's a super ninja.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, actually, that's how we played the scene.
Okay.
Like, there's a bit where he's, divulging secrets he knows about everybody.
Yeah.
To prove just how long he's been a sleeper agent. And, Sally goes, what do you possibly have on me? And he goes, the location of your birthmark. And they both get really quiet and really awkward for a minute. And he goes, because, Elias used it and I had to verify that it was a thing. She's like, nope, it's fine. Moving on. Because I remember this discussion, this line of discussion back when the plot point dropped, and the fan going, how does this make any sense? Because we've pretty much seen Sally fully unclothed from just about every angle. Where's her birthmark? It would be visible on pretty much anywhere on her. How does this make sense? So I was just having a little bit of fun with that.
Where could it possibly be? Under her fur. I mean...
Well, that's the thing. Elias, when he shows it off, it's right there on the surface.
Well,
which isn't really how birthmarks work. It would be more of a fur pattern. But you know what? I am done trying to fix that mess. It is behind me now.
Yeah. That's weird. SBO is weird. He's like Batman without the money. And the secret identity, I suppose.
Or the dead parents.
Well, you don't know that. Sega could come out tomorrow and say, oh, SBO has parents, but they're dead.
Mm-hmm. You have a point.
I know. Nobody else has parents, though, because parents are stupid, but...
Except for Cream.
SBO has parents. Except for, and Cream. That for some reason, Cream has parents. Sega, you don't have to kill off everybody's parents. Parents can be alive. It's okay. It's okay. Do you want to talk about the Bumble comic shop, Ian?
Yeah, if you want a signed book by me, head over to BumbleKing.com. And under the shops tab, there is a comic shop full of stuff that I have worked on. Everything is set at con prices, and all books that you order are signed by me. If you do make an order sometime around now, please be aware that between COVID and the holiday season and the dismantling of the United States Postal Service, shipping might be a bit slow. But if you pony up the shipping and handling, I ship anywhere in the world. So I let the machine figure out how much that is, and I hope it's right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm losing money on the deal. I am not very good at this, Kyle.
That's okay. Neither am I. Let's jump into the standard Q&A this week. First up, PC the Unicorn has a question. So, Ian, this has been something on my mind for a while now in regards to your work on the 3-part My Little Pony series you worked on, Feats of Friendship. In the story, you have Swiftfoot cause division among the Student 6 by pointing out to the no-pony characters how ponies didn't treat each of their kind with kindness and respect for a long time, along with how they seem to think they are above other species. Swiftfoot's conversation with all of them makes sense except for Yona. You have it in which Swiftfoot points out to Yona that no one has taken the time to learn to speak Yak, but Yak don't speak in a different language than ponies or any of the other creatures capable of human speech. They all speak the same language. The only difference is that Yaks tend to speak in third person. So basically what I'm asking is, why did you have it in which Yona gets upset that no other creature took the time to learn how to speak Yak when there isn't even a Yak language to begin with? I really do. I only know what a few of those words mean. And who a few of those characters are, which I don't actually know any of the characters based on their names there. Anyway, go ahead.
Now, I tried to double back on my old research, but I wasn't finding anything immediately. But I could have sworn that there was an episode where they either go to Yakistan or they have one of the local Yakistani show up. Keep it together, Kyle. This is canon, dude.
I believe you. I'm just laughing at the fact that it's called Yakistan.
Absolutely.
I mean, sure, why not? But still.
I mean, the capital of Equestria is Canterlot. The show is just a gold mine of pun places. Anyway.
But Yakistan is
Yakistan.
way better than... way better than Canterlot.
Anyway. I'm pretty sure there was another yak who, in a fit of passion, spoke in yak, which was just a series of yak, yakety, yak, 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 yak. If I'm making that up, then my assumption must have been based off the fact that their use of the third person and their somewhat broken English was shorthand for them being English second language. So when Yona speaking in third person and not quite getting exact phrasing correcting, to me that said that's not her native language. They would speak something else. Now, Hasbro did not have any notes on this. And the IDW crew who's been doing My Little Pony books for far longer didn't have any notes on it either. So either we're all wrong or it slipped through the cracks. And, both are possible. So if you know the truth, comment somewhere in the video below and let me know.
Engagement challenge. Get down there and comment. Even if it's just to say something completely unrelated. But also, maybe help Ian out if you know the answer. Next up, we got a question from Breezy. Ian, say hypothetically, there's another
hypothetically.
Game. Huh?
She said say hypothetically, so hypothetically.
Oh, okay.
I'm being funny, darn
it. Say hypothetically, there's another game with a Sonic Heroes-esque structure, and you're in charge of making new teams on top of the 4 we've got. Who would be in these teams, and what would they be called? I've always been curious on what new trios could be formed, like, for example, who could fill out the teams with duos like Mighty and Ray, or Tikal and Chaos. How would you approach this with the Flynn touch, as it were?
I'm not sure, because I feel like the 4 teams are already enough. I feel like if you start stacking teams on top of teams, it would be cumbersome. Unless it's like one playthrough and you just pick your team to play through cosmetically. That might not be too bad. But other teams. It's hard to say because some of the characters don't fit neatly into the fly, power, speed distinctions. Sure. Like, I would love to see Blaze get more integration, but do you describe her as a power type or a speed type? Because she definitely has Sonic speed, but she's also a fiery powerhouse. And she does have a glide ability, which could constitute fly.
Blaze is her own team. That's how good she is.
Like, Silver, depending on which game you're playing, could be a speed type propelled by psychokinesis. He also flies via psychokinesis. He's also ludicrously powerful with his psychic abilities, but it's not really in the kind of fisticuffs that the other power types are. So how do you define him? And then when you settle on the one, what is the team from there? There was a recently revealed bit of trivia that what would become the Hooligans, Fang, Bean, and Bark, were considered when they were tossing around ideas for teams. And I'm just giddy at the thought that there might have been an official Team Hooligan before I even made the Hooligans.
Yeah, that is awesome.
But even then, how do you really make a distinction? Because Bean doesn't really fly. He's not a fly type, despite being a woodpecker. If anything, you could argue that Fang would be the flyer because of the Marvelous Queen, but that's not really his own abilities, and the Marvelous Queen itself can transform to other properties, so he could possibly be a one-man team by himself as well. Bark's the only clear power type. What I'm getting at is, I have thought about this myself, and I have overthought it to the point where I've exhausted myself. So this should just be a simple, fun topic, and I don't think I can de-nerd enough to give you a simple, fun answer.
Well, I mean, you already have one pre-built team in Tangle, Whisper, and Jewel.
This is true. This is true.
You can fit them into that mold. Let's see, who else? I mean, the Hooligans, I don't know, figure it out. Have Bean throw bombs to fly. He does bomb jumps like Demo Man does in Team Fortress 2. Just constant bomb chucking downwards. Let's see. I don't think of who else could work. I mean, classic Sonic would be the obvious choice to pair with Ray and Mighty.
Yeah, so, I suppose.
I mean, well, at this point, because of the way they've sectioned off Ray and Mighty into classic, Yeah, I don't know. That's about it. That's all I can think of for now. Next up, we got one from Red Scarf UK. In Bad Guys number 1, Zavok refers to his new team as the Deadly Four, yet there are 5 members. Himself, Starline, Mimic, Rough, and Tumble. Is this because he's not counting himself? Counting Rough and Tumble as 1? Or, and I admit this is reaching pretty hard, a reference to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy being a trilogy in 4/5 parts.
No, Zavok is not counting himself in the mix. They are his Deadly Four to command, but they are his in terms of possession. They are not Zeti. They are not his pack. They are just his to use.
I figured he'd just be counting Rough and Tumble as 1 because they have about half a brain cell between them. So,
I mean, they don't really have an identity without each other, so you're not wrong.
That adds up to 1. So, yeah. Maybe it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, It was a little bit of both.
It's not a math problem. It's more of a jumble. It's one character split into Rough and Tumble.
I mean, yeah. Next up, question from Gakiot. I don't know if that's related to Kakarot, but I don't know. If you were to give Sally, Antoine, and Bunny the traditional Thing of the Animal names, what ideas can you come up with? Rotor is optional. I don't know if Nicole counts. Well, Nicole is Nicole the HoloLinks. So.
Yeah, we had that, and Rotor was always Rotor the Walrus. That was easy enough. Sally and Antoine depends on what species you want to give them. I mean, technically, and this is what still blows my mind, technically, if you're going pure SAT-AM, they don't have species. Chipmunk was what was assumed with Sally. I think that makes the most sense, because she kind of looks like the Disney equivalent, which isn't very chipmunk-looky anyway, but last name's Acorn. Come on.
Yeah.
So I would say Sally the chipmunk, and Antoine, again, which species do you want to go with? Because he didn't have a tail in SAT-AM, so I always thought he was like a mole or something. Even though he had more of a fox face, he was generic woodland animal.
Kinda, yeah.
It wasn't until around Sonic 75 that they began to consistently give him a tail and call him a coyote. So Antoine the Coyote, I don't know.
He does seem he seems very fox-like originally. Just the tail thing was thrown off. And then you already have Tails as a fox who looks very different from Antoine. So
he's actually infinite before he turned dark.
Maybe.
I will be showing you fools I am not the weak one. I'm going to be for the blackest of the blacks, and I'm going to fix my voice and then wear a piece of scrap metal over my head. Like I'm stuck in a jet turbine. I'm not weak. Oops, I might be dead. Who knows? Who cares?
Antoine is infinite confirmed.
And Bunny has to remain the Rabot. That's just too good of a pun to pass up.
I know, even though it's technically Rabo, but you know what? It's Rabot.
Yeah, that was probably lost to the Great Purge as well, so oh well.
Yeah. And we got another question here. This one comes to us courtesy of Frost Hobodon. This been bugging me. Does Silver have some kind of super speed? In Sonic Rivals, it's shown that he does, and can perform his own style of the spin and homing attack. Same goes for Amy when she uses her hammer. Fans forget that Silver is fast in his own way, but rely on 06 slow running.
And this is what I was talking about earlier.
Right.
It's really hard to get a consistent power set off of some of these characters because they are inconsistent from game to game. Especially Silver. So, I guess in his last real outing, which would have been Sonic Generations, as the boss fight.
Yeah, sure.
And he's chasing down Sonic the entire time, which means he has to have Sonic-esque speed to be able to keep pace and throw things at him. So I don't think he has natural Sonic speed. So 06 maintains that, plodding pace. But his psychokinesis is so freaking OP that he can propel himself at near Sonic speeds, I guess. Maybe.
It's like GLaDOS says, fling yourself. That's what he's doing.
I mean, he can also teleport in indeterminate distance. So what the speed? I don't know. He broke, man. He broke.
Silver is OP as F. Next up, question from Zane. Is it possible to have 8 Chaos Emeralds instead of 7?
Well, Sonic the Fighters did.
Does that count?
And if you want to count the hidden gold emerald and the old blue spheres. But beyond that, aside from the occasional dips into like 5 and 6 and, they're all blue for some reason, I'm pretty sure it's set as 7.
Yeah. It's Dragon Ball. So there's 7 Dragon Ball things and 7 Chaos Emeralds, And finally, our last question comes to us from Adam. If the original Sonic Archie comics stay available online on some sites, are newer and older fans of the franchise allowed to read and enjoy them still?
Okay, so as far as I am aware, there are no more... Well, you know what? Let me back up on that. Because there might be some retailers who have back issues that they're able to sell. I don't know how it works digitally. I don't think new issues can be sold, so I think that's what digital would count as. I don't know.
They cannot. Digital does not. They don't have them anymore on digital platforms. They're not for sale anymore.
I'm trying to give as much of a blanket out as possible because I'm pretty sure you're asking about pirate sites, and no, those are illegal. But if there is no other means of acquiring the media, you can't really be stealing from someone who isn't putting it up for sale, It gets kind of gray, and I'm not going to police the internet. I'm just saying, support your local retailers where you can. Support the books legitimately when you can. And beyond that, I can't really say much.
There is a bit of a gray area when it comes to preservation versus piracy. So, the books are available physically, but I think a lot of them at this point are very cost prohibitive to buy. I'm pretty sure they're jacking up the prices because they're out of print. And if they do exist in comic shops, then you could get them there, but they're only going to have whatever selection they have in inventory, and they're never going to be getting any more. So, it's just, it's definitely a bit of a gray area. And I definitely say support where you can. And, that's really about it. Otherwise, there's really nothing else to add to that. I definitely don't want to implicate us in endorsing anything because we don't endorse it in the slightest, but it's just, I don't know, certain things you want to think about. So keep these things in mind. Like, if you can get them physically, fantastic. If you can't, but you still want to read them,
make sure your virus blocker's up to date.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the BumbleKast.
Before we wrap up, we're going to give a big thank you to all the patrons who continue to make this show possible. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Robotnik Holmes, Mike B., Justin G., Torchbound, Coupland Crew 128, Do As Diz Din, Diane W., Scruffymatt, Chris A., Andrew D., John M., Dawn B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Chevelle, Silly String, Takaro, Sony, Salute Your Cat, Dave M., Justin S., Blue Title Camera, Overthinking Films, Tick Tick, Final Neil, Papadripadopoulos, Invade Turbo Tunis, Off, Noni, Digama F. Wow, Jonathan D., Jennifer H., PC the Unicorn, Rachel W., Preston M., Godzilla, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, William D., Piggy Bank, Daniel B., J. Frost, Owen B.D., Skull by Cakes, Hedgewolf 23, Somewhat Gooey, Dadler the Dalek, and Sapphire Scarletta.
Hello, newcomers. Welcome aboard, and thank you for supporting us. And thank you to everybody for supporting us. I hear a lot of new names in there, so...
And Skull, if that's meant to be Skull X Cake or Skull by Cake, I don't know. Please, correct me.
Skull Cross Cake? Maybe?
I don't know. It sounds like an anime to me.
Yeah, Skull Cross Cake.
I'd watch it.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken. You know, that's how it goes. Remember there was supposed to be a Tekken Cross Street Fighter game that never came out?
Yeah, it's because the first one bombed so bad.
It was okay. It's a good game. I remember playing it, but I don't know how well it sold, but it was fine. I like Tekken. Anyway, where can people find you on the internet again?
Head over to Twitter at AnnaFlynnBKC, my personal website, BumbleKing.com, or my original web series, Drogoon, that's DROGUNE.com. Kyle, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at KyleJCRB. You can also find me over at kngi.org, where you can find archived episodes of the BumbleKast in MP3 downloadable format for your listening pleasure on any MP3 player device. You can also find my other show, Nitro Game Injection. All the archives for that are available over there as well. Streaming live on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, you can tune into that. So, yeah, kngi.org is where you want to go to find all that stuff. If you're looking for something else to listen to, head on over there.
Contact the show on Twitter at BumbleKast or email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Listen to the show on Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or our YouTube channel, and on kngi.org.
Don't forget to check out the Bumble store, shop.spreadshirt.com/Bumble store. Get you some Bumble gear, some Bumble threads. Just go. Check it out.
Catch us for BumbleKast Gaming lives on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/BumbleKast Gaming, Sundays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and sporadically throughout the week. Subscribe to us there to find out when we're going, or on Twitter at BumbleKast, or on Twitter at BumbleKast.
On Twitter at BumbleKast. On Twitter at BumbleKast. On Twitter at BumbleKast.
I don't know where I was going with that, but clearly it wasn't anywhere good.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to go anywhere good. I mean, it wouldn't be this show if we went to good places.
It wouldn't be this year.
Also, big thank you to everybody who's been supportive and reaching out and everything since last week. Since we didn't do a show last week because of some personal things that came up. I've touched on them in other certain places, so I won't go into too much detail here. But thank you to everybody who's been who's supported and reached out and everything. I do definitely appreciate it, and I'm feeling better about things now. So. Yeah, things are good. They're not great, they're not perfect, but they're good. So I'm going to go with that. Thank you, everybody.
And on that, we're going to wrap it up for this week. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next week for more BK Q&A.
See y'all later. Keep them questions coming. Do it. Do it now. I dare you. I dare you to ask a question. I dare you. So many secret projects. I don't even know what you're doing anymore. Some people are wondering if you even work for IDW anymore.
I saw that. It's like, what? Is this why Ian quit the comics? Like, I didn't. Bad Guys is still coming out, guys.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you wrote that months ago, I assume.
But I've also said, I've got mainline stuff coming up, too. It's
I know.
I want to correct them, but at the same time, it's already clear that they're not going to read it, so why bother?
Yeah.
Cranky.
They think you're working on the cartoon, which I don't believe you are.
I wouldn't be able to talk about it if I was.
I know. Awkward silence.
So that's a good time to leave. Last night I was working on a big project that finally got the go-ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about, 16, 17 pages in. And the program crashed.
No!
I open it up again and I have 14 pages of content.
No!
I check what the settings are for the autosave, and it's every 15 minutes.
Wow, you wrote a lot in 15 minutes.
I can write fast. And it had crashed 14 minutes since the last save. And that just kind of took all the strength out of me. So I went in and I changed the settings to autosave like every 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's much better.
So that that backup folder is going to get real big real fast, but
That's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Can you set it to automatically trim older backups or anything?
Oh, I went in and I found the older backups. That's how I know that I missed out on the safety save by like a minute.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, can you make it so it doesn't balloon to huge?
Yeah, it's set to a maximum of 100 by default.
Oh, 100 megabytes? Pfft, that's nothing.
No, 100 files.
Oh, 100 files? Oh, wow, that's actually not very many. Still not very much. And if they're all text files, I mean, they can't be that huge. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Yeah, anime swordsman smash is kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to defend the Fire Emblem inclusions. That's just kind of silly. But
putting Sephiroth in there though was like, oh, you want to complain about anime swordsman, huh? Well, let's see.
Most anime and most swordsman of anime swordsmen.
It's like, well, let's see you complain about this one, and so far, very little.
Like, Marth, absolutely. He is the face of Smash Brothers. He is not Smash Brothers.
Well, I mean, in the West, kinda.
Yeah.
Of the series, yes.
He is the original Lord. That makes sense. Roy was just coming out, and he's different enough that, and they changed him up afterwards, that, okay, Roy's fine. Ike played completely differently.
Yeah.
He is a wholly different unit. That's fine.
And he was another one who was put in at about the same time his game was coming out, so it was another opportunistic promotional tie-in.
Robin is unique in their moveset. Byleth is unique. Chrom and Lucina didn't really need to be added.
It's true, and I say this as like a very, very dedicated Lucina player. I love Lucina, but yeah, I mean, she didn't need to be in there. It's true. You're not wrong.
Great character, great design, and
she's just a Marth clone, which they said she was, but still,
Which makes sense given her character, but still make it a Marth skin,
Could have been that, yeah.
And Chrom was just silly. I understand Awakening saved the franchise, but no. And if you're a fan of Fates, you got to be extra salty because Awakening got 3 and Three Houses got 1.
Yeah.
A 1.5 if you want to, not fully count the gender swap. And Fates got nothing. I don't even think they get a cameo assist trophy thingy.
I don't think so either.
Which is especially funny given its prevalence in so many other Fire Emblem medias.
Weird.
So that's our after credits talk.
Sure. We'll go with that.